Thank you for joining me. Please take a comfortable seat on your mat. Allow your spine to be dignified. Turn the gaze inward and start to turn in towards the ebb and the flow of your breath. Please begin to set an intention for your practice. Let it drop into your heart and ease into every cell in your body. Releasing your hands, let them rest comfortably on your thighs. Begin to let your chin drop down towards your chest, keeping your spine long, just tipping forward through the chin, keeping the heart lifted. Inhale, coming up, and exhale, taking it over to one side. Inhale, and maybe exhale, dropping the chin down towards the edge of your collarbone. Inhale, coming back up. Come through center and exhale over to the other side. Inhale. And exhale back through center. Allow one ear to drop towards a shoulder, not forcing, allowing and breathing. Take a few breaths on one side. Come back through center. Exhale over to the other side. Inhale, coming back through center. Let the arms rise up. Take a deep breath in and exhale. Come down into the heart space. Repeat that about 4 more times, connecting with your breath, elongating the side body. Inhale. And exhale back down into the heart space. Inhale. Take one wrist, reaching up and over to the side, breathing into the exposed rib cage. Inhale back through center, taking the opposite wrist, keeping both sitting bones plugged down into the ground, and feel that expression of openness through the opposite side of the body. Inhale back through center and exhale, spread those arms back down. Let those hands rest on the thighs for a moment. Observe. We'll begin Kapalabhati, taking 3 cleansing breaths in through the nose and exhale, emptying completely as you draw the belly to spine, maybe even folding forward to help empty out the breath. Do that 3 times. To practice Kapalabhati, we don't practice this if we have uncontrolled high blood pressure. But if it's familiar to you, you'll take conscious exhalations, consciously pressing the navel towards the spine. We'll do this about 50 or 60 rounds. If you become lightheaded, please stop and come back to regular breathing and simply observe. At the end of your 50 or 60 pulses of breath, you'll take an in breath, hold the breath in, turn your inner eye gaze towards your third eye. Hold that for about 60 seconds or less if it becomes strained, and then you'll exhale and release, keeping the eyes closed. and observe the effects of one round of Kapalabhati, skull shining breath. Repeat this several times. Be sure to keep the shoulders relaxed, spine elegant. Take a few moments to observe the effects, keeping that internal gaze, that interiorization. Practice one more round and then observe. We'll now begin alternate nostril breathing. Keeping your left hand open on your thigh, you might like to connect your thumb and your index finger, Jnana Mudra, bringing your right hand up towards your face, keeping the shoulders relaxed. If this aggravates your elevated arm, you can tuck your left arm underneath. You're going to begin keeping that gaze turned inward or down. You'll inhale through the left nostril to a count of 4. Close both nostrils, turn the inner gaze upwards, retain the breath for approximately a count of 12. And then keeping the left nostril closed, exhaling out of the right for a count of 8. At the end of the exhalation, as the navel pulls to the spine, notice the body void of breath. And then inhale into the right to the count of 4. Retain the breath for a count of 12. And then exhale left for a count of 8. If this counting is not suitable for you and you need to decrease it, please do so. See if you can allow the exhalation to be twice as long as the inhalation, and allow the breath retention to be that which is suitable for you. without being strained or forced. And you'll do this for about 7 rounds, keeping the interiorization. Continue to focus the mind. Pay attention to the inner experience. Never forcing or straining. If you become lightheaded, remove the hand. Keep the gaze turned inward or down, and simply observe a natural breath. We always begin by inhaling on the left nostril, and we end our cycle by exhaling out of the left nostril. Keeping the eyes closed, release the hand. Remain as the witness. Simply observe. Noticing the inner landscape without any judgment. Let's prepare to come onto our hands and our knees. Remove any props. You'll be placing your shoulders directly above the creases of your wrists, the fronts of your shoulders, and the kneecaps underneath your hip sockets. So allowing the thigh bones to be vertical and the shin bones to be parallel. Begin to move through cow and cat as you exhale, drawing the navel to the spine, looking towards the hips as you inhale. Let your collarbone shine forward slightly, dropping the belly and allowing the articulation between each of your vertebrae. Please move through cow and cat about 5 cycles. Noticing the in-breath as the collarbones shine forward, and exhaling as you come into spinal flexion, looking towards the navel. Inhaling into spinal extension, and exhaling, rounding the spine, navel to spine, pressing space between those shoulder blades. And coming back to tabletop, begin to extend your right leg behind you, keeping the toes connected to the earth, strong through the thighs. The option of drawing down onto your forearms if the wrists are. And we'll simply switch sides, extending the left leg back, keeping the toes connected to the earth, pressing through the heel. Notice how the spine is nice and elongated. We're not dropping into the wrists. The belly is intact. Take the knees nice and wide as we come into Balasana, child's pose, drawing the sitting bones back towards the heels, and we'll avoid crossing the feet. Extend the arms forward, keeping them active. Spread the fingers wide and pull the mat towards you. Begin to breathe into the back of the body. Inhale, coming up, coming over to one side, and exhale, bowing down. You'll stay here for about 4 or 5 breaths, and then you'll take it over to the other side. Be sure to soften the shoulders as you open up the armpits. Inhale, lifting up, walking across, and exhale, lowering down on the other side. Inhale, lifting back up through center. Bring those knees back underneath the hips. Tuck the toes under. Draw the sitting bones back towards the heels. Let's start to stretch out through the feet. Walk your hands one hand length forward and exhale. Draw the sitting bones back. So we want there to be enough distance that the arms can elongate and the ears will come in between the arms as you draw the sitting bones back in space, keeping the muscles in the arms active. Inhale, coming forward, shoulders over wrists. Exhale, sitting bones back towards the heels. Stretching out the feet, lengthening out through the spine and through the glutes. Walk those hands back underneath the shoulders. Make sure those wrists are nice and parallel, fingers spread wide. And we're going to lift those knees a few inches off the floor, a few centimeters. Feeling the strength through the abdominal muscles. Begin to elevate those sitting bones up and back and slowly starting to pedal the feet. Getting into sensation in the back of the legs, keeping the arms active, spiraling those biceps up towards the ears. And the heels may or they may not find the ground. Begin to bend into the knees once again, lowering back down into tabletop. Walk your hands one hand length forward. Draw the sitting bones back towards the heels. Keeping those arms elongated and strong, the muscles drawing towards the bones. Inhale, drawing forward. Extend your right leg back hip height and letting that pinky toe point down towards the ground. Draw the left arm up alongside the ear. Focusing here on pressing into the floor and drawing the navel towards the spine, feeling strong through your torso. Release the hand, release the leg. And taking that to the other side, extend the left leg back and the right arm alongside the ear without drooping into that supporting arm or knee. Find your breath here. And release the hand, release the leg, tucking the toes under. Let's extend that right knee, bending, flexing that knee, 3 circles in one direction with that right hip socket, and then 3 circles in the other direction. Releasing that leg down, we'll take the opposite leg up, bending at the knee. You always have the option of making fists if your wrists are aggravated, but if the wrists are aggravated, just check in with how those hands are positioned and whether or not you're dumping into the wrists or pressing the floor away. Circling about 3 times in one direction through your leg, and then 3 times in the opposite direction. Releasing that knee down. Toes tucking under, drawing the sitting bones back towards the heels. Walk the hands a little bit more forward if the ears aren't able to come in between the arms, and elevating your sitting bones up to the sky. Start to slowly pedal your heels into downward facing dog. In downward facing dog, the heels may not ever get to the earth. That's not the purpose of it. You want to feel a beautiful lengthening through the entire back of the body, from the wrist to the sitting bones, from the sitting bones to the heels. You want to keep the quadriceps active. This is a forward fold. Anytime we're in a forward fold, the quadriceps are active. This allows us to feel this stretch into the middle of the hamstrings. Inhale, the right leg comes up to the sky, keeping the pelvis in a neutral position. Begin to bend the knee, let the heel drop in towards the opposite glute, flexing that ankle, extending that leg up and releasing it back down. Other side, inhale, left leg to rise, pelvis in neutral, flexing the knee, drop the heel in towards the glute, ankle is flexed and strong, arms are strong as you press the earth away. Inhale, extending that leg back up to the sky, and exhale, planting it down beside the other. Begin to walk your feet forward towards the top of the mat. We want those feet to be approximately hip-width apart. And check in to make sure that we're working towards those feet being parallel. If coming into a standing forward fold, or Utkatasana, sometimes referred to as Padahastasana, you might need to bend the knees. We always, again, want to make sure the quadriceps are strong. We allow the movement to originate from the pelvis, rotating over the thigh bones. So we never want to fold the waist or at the rib cage. We can always remove the blocks. I'm simply going to turn to face the camera. You can stay right where you are. Maybe big toes come together as you come into Utkatasana chair pose. Maybe wiggle around a little bit. Maybe the feet are hip distance apart, bony hip distance apart, so where the thigh bones enter into the pelvis. Notice that the knees are tracking over the center of the foot, and we're allowing for a natural curvature of the spine. If this aggravates your arms, simply draw them more parallel to the floor or release them onto your thighs or your hips. Find your breath here. Inhale, reach up as you root down through the feet, coming into extended mountain, and then exhale, hands to heart center. Coming into strong mountain pose, outer edges of the feet parallel. Lifting through your pelvic floor and through the kneecaps. Feel a long side body. Inhale to reach up, taking a wrist, coming into a lateral flexion of the spine, rooting down through the feet, and reaching up and out of the hips, maybe gazing down towards the floor. Inhale, coming up, taking opposite wrist, exhaling over to the other side. So reaching up and out of those hips, kind of like you're trying to reach to the corner of the room. Inhale, reach up, exhale, arms float down. Let's interlace those hands behind the back, root down through the feet, lifting the chest. Draw those triceps towards each other in the back of the body. Notice how the hips stay stacked over the knees. You might want to take opposite wrists or take elbows. Breathing here. Breathing across the front of the chest. We'll come into eagle arms, stacking left arm under the right, and drawing those forearms together. And if stacking keeps your hands quite a distance apart, you can simply align your elbows together into more the shape of an L. You want to make sure that the shoulders aren't reaching up towards the ears. Inhale, come out wide, and exhale, wrapping the opposite arm under. So right arm coming under this time. Keeping the gaze forward. We set our drishti. Setting our drishti or our gaze helps to stabilize the mind. We can stabilize in the breath. Inhale, arms out wide. Reaching up. Finding that extended mountain pose, maybe coming into a little bit of a back bend, a little bit of spinal extension, keeping support through the navel and through the pelvic floor. Breath is even. Hands to heart center, exhale, coming into forward fold. Walk those hands down to the floor. You're going to walk your feet back once again into downward facing dog. The ears resting in the space between the arms. Notice a beautiful alignment again from the wrist to the sitting bones and from the sitting bones to the heels. We're going to lower those knees, coming back into tabletop. Inhale, coming into Bhujangasana, Cobra pose with knees on the ground. Nice and slow. Now elongate the legs behind you. Activate the thighs. And if bringing the big toes together aggravates the spine, the lower back, then separate your feet a distance that allows that sense of compression to be released. So the glutes here are active as you come into the spinal extension, shining the heart forward, using the strength of your back here, not relying on the hands to hold you up. Use the strength of your back, the strength of your legs. Tuck the toes under. Inhale, pressing back up into a tabletop. Exhale, back into an active child's pose. The arms are active. And elevating into downward facing dog. You can always come back to child's pose if downward facing dog isn't suitable for you. Inhale, shifting forward. This time perhaps trying it without the knees on the floor. And exhale, lowering into chaturanga. Inhale, heart shifts forward. Thighs stay active. We're not dropping those thighs to the floor if we're coming up into upward facing dog. Exhale, pressing up and back into downward facing dog. Feet are parallel. Those heels are hidden behind the ankles. And maybe stepping your feet to the width of the mat. Maybe pressing the chest into that space or lowering onto your forearms for a variation. Keeping that alignment across the upper back and the shoulders. Bring those feet back towards hip width apart. Inhaling, right leg up to the sky, three-legged dog. Keeping the pelvis in neutral. Exhale, using the abdominals, draw the knee into chest and plant that foot inside the right wrist. Lower the left knee to the ground. You may or may not wish to have blocks handy for this. Notice the ankle is positioned right underneath that kneecap, and you want to be able to see those right toes. That right thigh bone working towards parallel to the floor. Feeling your hips draw forward, right hip crease drawing back, left hip crease drawing forward. Tucking the back toes if that feels better for your knee. Maybe resting your hands on your thighs. Noticing this back bend here. This is a little bit of a spinal extension, so please don't tuck the tailbone under. Let the spine allow it to move in its natural intelligence. Maybe inhaling the arms up into a crescent lunge. Finding breath here. Perhaps taking a wrist, leaning to the right. Finding breath through the left rib cage, through the left hip. Remaining stable and strong through the lower body and open through the side body. Shoulders somewhat relaxed. Releasing the hands. Peeling that left knee off of the ground. Strong through the thighs, like you're trying to squeeze the two ends of your mats together, keeping those legs active. If you need to, lower that left knee down again. Breathing here. Coming into a spinal twist, left hand underneath the left shoulder, pivoting your chest towards that inner right thigh, keeping that knee hugging in. So we don't want it to spiral out. We're keeping it in line with the hip socket. You can extend that right arm up to the sky or wrapping it around your low back. Keeping the weight evenly distributed between the left hand, right foot, and left foot. So nice even distribution of the weight. Release that right hand down. Lower the left knee. Draw the sitting bones back so the pelvis is now stacked over that left knee. Inhale, shifting forward, and step your back foot forward, coming into standing forward fold. Lengthening the spine over the thighs. And again, I'm simply going to shift so that you can see from both sides. you'll stay right where you are. Walk your hands or your feet back to find downward facing dog. Feeling those ears extend into the space between the arms, the crown extend down towards the earth as you press the floor with your hands. Inhale, letting your left leg rise up. And exhale, knee into your chest, plant that foot inside that left wrist. Lower the right knee to the ground. Check the alignment of the front knee over the ankle. Strong legs here, pull up your pelvic floor. You don't want to be dropping into it like a lazy hammock. I'm going to keep the base of our torso supported through the muscles in the abdomen and the pelvic floor muscles. Hands may rest on blocks or on the thigh. Realign with your breath. Maybe taking a wrist. Maybe leaning over to one side. Just exploring the side body stretch and opening through that right hip. The breath continues to be your barometer for your practice, releasing the hands down. Peeling that back knee off the ground, keeping those legs nice and strong. Reaching from the crown down to the tailbone. Strong thighs, long spine, constant and even breath. Lowering the right knee down, finding your spinal twist. Right hand under right shoulder, maybe wrapping that left arm around. Whatever side you're on, just making sure you've done both sides now. Pivoting your chest towards that bent knee. Reaching up and out of the heart in both directions, east and west from your heart, reaching up to the sky and pressing away into the ground. Looking back down to the ground. Let your sitting bones draw back. Pelvis stacked over the back knee as you fold forward over that front leg. Readjust the position of your hands if your ears are up towards your shoulders. Bending into that front leg, stepping back foot forward. Inhale and exhale, finding your forward fold. Inhale, sweeping up through the strength of your legs, the strength of your abdominals. Exhale, hands to the heart. Inhale, sweeping the arms up. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale, looking up part way. Maybe the hands come onto the shins here. And take your feet more towards the width of your mat. You want your knees to stack towards the middle of your foot as those inner thighs open up. Just check to make sure you're not dropping into the arches of your feet. And if necessary, you can roll up your mat to place your heels under so that they're not just sort of hanging or dangling in space if this is not available to you. Notice how the spine stays dignified and open and long. We'll use the left hand down inside the left foot, opening the right arm up to the side or maybe wrapping around the low back. Breathing here. And releasing that hand down and opening up to the other side. Open your chest, maybe wrapping the hand around the low back. Maybe it presses into the inner thigh or reaches up to the sky. Check to make sure that you're utilizing those glutes to keep those knees working towards your baby toe and you're not dropping into the inner edges of your knees. You just want to practice safely. Exhale, releasing the hands down. Elevate your hips, realign your feet, come back down to the ground, coming into Noose Pose, extending and reaching through temple fingers, so interlinking your fingers, reaching through your index fingers, coming into spinal flexion here. It's okay that we're rounding here, feeling that length along the spine. Inhale, lengthening the legs. Slide those hands up underneath the knees. Beautiful elongated spine, supported through the strength of your lower belly, supported through your breath, rising up. Inhale, exhale back to your heart. Inhale, stepping one foot back, about 2.5 feet. So we're going to take our right foot back. And if you need to, widen your stance a little bit towards the width of your mat, maybe one big toe width, interlacing your fingers, or coming into reverse namaste hands, or maybe taking opposite elbows as you fold over that front leg. And once again, the focus of this class is a forward fold, keeping awareness through the engagement of the quadriceps. If your stance is too wide, the back heel may be off the ground, or so too long. Maybe your legs have scissored too far apart, maybe narrow them. Coming back into a spinal twist once again, releasing that hand down to the floor, pivoting towards that front leg. Hand may be on a block or on your shin. Top arm may wrap around the low back or reach up to the sky. Let this rotation begin at the pelvis. So it is in a relatively neutral position, except the rotation does begin there. You're going to extend your back leg up, coming into a modified warrior 3 pose. Make sure that, again, that pelvis stays relatively neutral. There's lots of action, muscular action through the elevated leg. And we don't do this on the other side, so I will ask that you do that here. We're going to take that right foot down onto the ground, finding warrior 1, inhale, reaching up. Again, that front left thigh bone parallel to the floor. Left big toes pointed to the top of the mat. The outer edge of that back foot is down to the ground, tacking down to the ground. Feel that back leg spiraling in and down with muscular action, internal rotation, rooting down like a corkscrew. Maybe the arms come up, maybe they don't. Coming into a spinal twist once again, bringing that right elbow to the outside of the left thigh. If that's not available, bringing your wrists there. Keep that back foot rooting down to the ground. If you need to, you can rotate that heel up, but see if you can keep in this warrior 1 stance in this spinal twist. Breathing here, long and strong. Releasing the hands. Step your front foot back, finding downward facing dog. Breathing into the length of your spine. Keeping your kneecaps lifted through the muscular energy of your thighs. Feet hip distance apart. Taking the opposite leg, stepping it forward. We're coming into wide standing forward fold. Check that the outer edges of your feet are parallel. And again, that you're hinging from the pelvis and not from the waist. Let your spine elongate, decompressing through the spine, hands underneath the shoulders. Both kneecaps lifted. Inhale, lift up, walk the hands underneath the shoulders, and exhale, fold again. Breathing in and breathing out. Walking those hands forward, underneath the shoulders, and then pivoting over to the other side. Stepping the back foot forward, finding standing forward fold. Inhale, sweeping the arms up, and exhale down to heart center. Rooting down. This time stepping the right foot forward, left foot back. Yes, that's correct. Opposite foot forward, opposite foot back. Taking the arms, again, the option of taking opposite elbows, interlacing the fingers, or coming into reverse prayer, namaste hands. Engaging quadriceps, stabilize, and then exhale, folding over that front leg. Feel that front hip crease drawing back, and the back hip crease pulling forward. Muscular energy through both legs. Releasing the left hand to the ground. Inside, underneath that shoulder, option to come onto a block, pivoting your chest towards that front leg, keeping both legs energized. Maybe the hand comes onto the shin. Maybe the right arm spirals up to the sky. Feel free to readjust your stance. Remember, we want to keep that back heel rooting down towards the earth. Finding that rotation from the pelvis all the way up. Maybe looking forward or down. Exhale, release the hand. Step the back foot forward. Maybe extending it into Warrior 3. We neglected to do that. And then we'll step that foot back as we prepare for Warrior 1. Right knee forward, root down. Inhale through the strength of your legs and through your side body muscles, reach up. Keeping a 90-degree bend through that front knee. Working that thigh bone parallel to the floor. And again, that corkscrew action through the back leg. Hands can always come onto the hips if the shoulders need a break. Check that the knee is stacking towards the middle of the foot. Breathing here. Releasing hands to the heart, preparing for your spinal twist. Bringing that elbow to the outside of that front knee. Bring the hands a little closer to the heart, spiraling open. Option of bringing those wrists to the outer thigh instead. Use some action through the glutes, through the muscles of the thighs, the quadriceps. Strong through the lower body, even through your breath. Looking back down to the floor, release the hands underneath the shoulders. Step the back foot forward, inhale, and exhale to fold. Remember strong quadriceps. Coming back into a wide standing forward fold. Outer edges of the feet parallel. Spreading those fingers wide. Reaching through the crown. Belly drawing up to support your torso. Pelvic floor supporting you as well. Maybe letting one knee bend. Taking a few breaths and then into the other. Just feeling that sensation through the hips. Walking those hands slightly forward, bowing down into a wide downward facing dog. Focusing today on lengthening the hamstrings. We're going to bring those knees down to the ground. Take those knees really wide. So we'll take the variation first of tadpole with big toes touching but not crossing as you rest on the inner edges of the knees or the thighs. If it's available, you'll come into full frog pose with the ankles directly behind the knees and the arches of the feet pointing down to the floor. I'm going to ask that you have the toes drawing up towards your shin so that those ankles are strong. We don't want them to be lazy. We want them to help protect the knees. Breathing here into frog pose, allowing our hips the possibility to feel their full expression. Coming back onto the hands, inhale. Draw those knees back underneath the pelvis and just sitting back on the ground. We're going to extend one leg wide. So maybe taking your right leg, lengthening it wide. And we want to ensure that the spine stays in its neutral position. So if you need to elevate the sitting bones, bring that heel in towards the groin. Inhale, reaching the arms up, find the length of the spine. And on the exhalation, begin to lengthen the heart towards that long leg. Remember that this movement originates from your pelvis. Please avoid folding at your belly button or at your rib cage. Discover your breath. Maybe bringing the left hand to the outer edge of that right foot. Keeping the shoulder relaxed though, back down in its socket. Inhale, come up slightly, square your chest off over the long leg, and exhale, bow down again. Breathing in and breathing out with awareness. Inhale, coming up. Keeping the shoulders over the hips. Extend the left arm up and over, reaching towards the toes of the long leg. We're going to keep the chest spiraling open and gaze down towards that knee. Maybe the top arm reaches a foot. If not, let it rest on the head or the left shoulder. Just always modifying, practicing ahimsa, non-harm. Notice how that right leg is strong. The right foot points to the sky. It's not flopping in or out. Hands walk back up. We'll switch sides. Extend the left leg out wide. Draw the right heel in towards the groin. Take that leg really wide. Inhale, reach up. Feel the length of the spine. Rotate. And then exhale, descending down from the pelvis, starting at the pelvis. Folding forward. It doesn't have to be far. Left toes point to the sky. Left quadricep active. Maybe the right arm comes to the outer edge of that left foot. And a beautiful stretch into the QL area, the lumbar region, the left hamstrings as you explore the breath in this shape. Inhale, come up, and exhale, bow down again. Let the torso lengthen along that thigh bone. Not pulling or bouncing. Letting go of any sense of achievement. Just feeling and being. Inhale, coming back up. Leaving that left hand on the left leg, reaching the right arm up and over, keeping that chest facing open, looking down towards that left knee. You can always modify with the right hand. Breathing into the side body, into the hamstrings. Inhaling to rise up. Bring the soles of the feet together, preparing for Baddha Konasana, butterfly pose. Remembering the option of sitting, those sitting bones up on a blanket. We want to make sure that blanket is flat, it's not bunched up. We would do that if you're particularly kind of rounding at the waist. You might find it beneficial to spiral those inner thighs up. Maybe open the soles of the feet like a book. Inhale and exhale, hinging forward from the pelvis. Maybe using the elbows to assist. Inhale and exhale. The breath remains consistent and fluid. Inhale to come up. We'll take a second variation. We'll walk those heels forward or the sitting bones back so that there's more of a diamond shape. And keep the soles of the feet together. You might find it beneficial to put blocks underneath the outer edges of the knees. Inhale and exhale, coming into turtle pose. We're going to allow for spinal flexion here, aiming the forehead towards the arches of the feet, and if it's available, walking the arms underneath the creases of the knees. So this shape, we turn inwards just as a turtle withdraws into its shell. Pratyahara, interiorization, not distracted by the external world. Inhale to come back up. Let's extend both the left and the right leg out wide. Again, maybe you need to sit up on a blanket or put blocks underneath your thighs. You can stay here. If you're feeling sensation here in your hamstrings, you'll stay right there. If there's something else available, maybe move the flesh from the sitting bones back. Keep the quadriceps active, toes point to the sky. And again, hinging forward, pelvis rotating over those thigh bones, lengthening your heart forward. Keeping that head as a natural extension of the spine, so it's not dropping down, it's not forced up, and descending to whatever degree is available to you towards the earth. Let your breath be your guide. If you're holding your breath, back off. If you've forgotten your breath, go deeper. Breathing. Walk the hands under the shoulders. Inhale to rise back up. Maybe help those knees together. Bring a block, placing it between your thighs. If you don't have a block, imagine that you do. Have you hollow out your belly. Maybe hold the under part of your thighs. Using abdominal strength, slowly rolling down, scooping out, hollowing out the belly. Lowering down and breathing as you go until the shoulder blades meet the earth and the head meets the earth. Keep that block between the thighs. We keep that muscular energy in the legs. The feet are parallel here, and those heels are underneath the kneecaps. Utilizing your glute muscles, pressing the arm bones down along the side body, pressing them into the earth, lifting those hips. Inner thighs active, glutes active. Exhale, release down. Remove the block. Ankles remain underneath the knees. You may want to bend the elbows here as an alternative, making gentle fists, pressing those arm bones down into the ground. Those arms, it's hard to tell in the video, but they're right beside the rib cage. Feeling the action of the glutes. Avoid those knees from splaying out. You want to keep reaching those knees directly out of those hip sockets to the wall beyond. Maybe interlace the hands behind the back. Breathing into the front of the body, the front of the hips as the arms stretch down to the ground towards the heels. Make sure the neck is free here. Extending maybe one leg up to the sky in this modified variation of bridge. Bending that knee, releasing it down, and the other knee draws into the chest and extends up to the sky. Relaxing that knee again, draw it into the chest and plant it down. Release the hands, lowering down with abdominal strength intact. Draw one knee into the chest and then the other. Feeling that stretching out through the glutes and through the low back. Releasing those feet back down underneath the knees. And take that block and place it across the sacrum horizontally. And we're coming into a supported bridge pose. So you have three options, the low, the middle, or the high. And don't automatically go to the one that you always do. Explore and see which one will serve you today. I want to be able to come into this in a more passive way. Maybe rotate the palms open to open up across the chest. Maybe extending the legs if this feels appropriate for your back. Feet remaining hip distance apart. Option of extending the arms above the head, letting them be supported by the earth. Take some deep conscious breaths into the front of the body here. Releasing the arms down, bending the knees. Remove the block from the pelvis. Slowly lower down. Belly engaged, draw one knee in. And lengthen the opposite leg down to the ground. The leg that's long is strong. Toes again point to the sky with the pinky toe pulling towards the head. We're going to cradle that bent knee. A variation here of pigeon pose that we often do facing the ground. This time we're doing it on our backs. So similar position. So if coming onto your belly isn't available to you, maybe remembering this option. Let's come into half happy baby pose. And we'll take and pivot that knee out past the rib cage, keeping that leg that's on the ground really active. Pressing the thigh bone towards the ground. Maybe using your left hand on that left hip to keep it rooted down. Bending into that right knee. Keeping the sole of the foot pointing to the sky, maybe walking the hand up to the outer edge of that foot. Notice the neutral torso here, not lifting one side up. Bring that knee towards the chest, preparing for a spinal twist. Drawing that knee across the body, stacking one hip over the other, maybe tucking the toe on that long leg. You can look in the opposite direction of the knee or keep it neutral. Maybe stacking your knees is more appropriate for you. Again, modify and adjust as needed. Breathing into the exposed rib cage, noticing how it can take in more oxygen on the one side of the body into that lung, spreading those intercostal muscles. Let's draw that knee back to center, neutralize the pelvis. Draw the other knee in, and we'll simply switch sides, lengthening the opposite leg on the floor and start to cradle the knee into the chest, rocking back and forth. Let that thigh bone move back and forth in the pelvis. And prepare to come into half happy baby pose. The leg that's on the ground is there actively with intention. You hold the thigh or walk your hand up to the outer edge of the foot with the idea of pivoting that knee open, drawing it off the body towards the ground. Torso in neutral position. We'll come into both legs elevated into happy baby pose. Remember, if holding the feet makes you collapse this pose, I'll invite you to hold the backs of your thighs instead. You want the upper body to relax on the ground. And maybe gradually the hands work their way up to the outer edges of the legs, to the outer edges of the feet. Some people take the inner edges of the feet. I like to take the outer edges to keep the chest broad and the shoulder blades on the ground. You can play by taking a toe, maybe lengthening into the inner edge of your leg, extending one leg long out to the side. 4 or 5 breaths there. And then bending that knee and exploring that on the other side, reaching through the heel, that leg out to the side. If the toe isn't available, you simply hold the outer edge of the leg. Breathing in and breathing out with awareness. Draw both knees together. Coming into our inversion, if you're near a wall, you can scoop to a wall. I'll have the option here of placing a block again across the back of your pelvis, elevating your feet into the sky. If this aggravates your back, if it feels like you're really working here, bend your knees a little bit more in towards your torso. Keeping those feet approximately hip width apart, a little bit more relaxed here, arms relaxed on the floor. Another option, if you have a shoulder stand Shavasana in your practice, feel free to begin to set up for that. If you're doing shoulder stand and this is the first time, I would really encourage you not to do this without having an instructor with you. When you place the blanket, it's important that it's not bunched up, that it's nice and flat, and the crease of that blanket is at the top of the mat. We're going to roll that mat over top. Sometimes people think this is for their neck or their head. It is not. We want actually the top of the mat to be at the top of the shoulders so that the neck is free and the back of the head is on the ground. Begin to roll the knees in towards the forehead if you practice Shavasana shoulder stand. Otherwise, you're going to stay in that L-shaped pose or legs up the wall. Walking those elbows in, you're pressing the arm bones down into the ground if you're in shoulder stand. Fingertips point towards the glutes. There's an inner spiraling of those legs, or spiraling in and up, reaching those toes to the sky as you press down through the backs of the arms. Settling into the breath here. You can play by taking your legs out wide, actively pressing through your heels. Your abdominals are also supporting you here. You never come into this shape if you have any issues with your cervical spine, blood pressure issues, any glaucoma. You are advised not to take this shape. Interlacing the hands will extend them down to the ground only if the toes reach the floor. Again, the quadriceps are active here, pressing the thigh bones to the sky. The tops of the feet can come down to the ground, where the heels can stack over the toes. Very active here through the legs, through the belly, through the arms. This is not a passive pose. Supporting the low back, bending the knees, strong bellies. Slowly lowering down to the floor using your abdominal strength, releasing those legs down to the ground. And preparing here for Shavasana Relaxation. Excellent time to grab some socks or a blanket. Maybe unfold your mat and take a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Releasing any remaining tension in the body. Surrendering the body to the ground. Relaxing the muscles from the bones. Eyes are closed. Releasing any controlled breath. Let it be soft. Gently guide the awareness down towards the toes. Feet relax. Legs relax. Buttocks relax. Hands and arms relax. Abdomen relax. The entire back, all the muscles along the spine relax. Relax. Chest and shoulders relax. And the neck, throat, and nape relax. All the muscles of the face, the chin, the lips, and the tongue. Jaw and the cheeks. The eyelids and the eyeballs. And the forehead, temples, and scalp. The whole body is relaxed. The whole body is relaxed. Begin to feel and connect to the breath in the body, slowly moving, rolling over onto one side. Whenever you're ready, you use your top hand to press up into a comfortable seated position, encouraging you to have your hips above the knees, maybe elevating your sitting bones. Maybe kneeling is better for you. You don't have to come into Utkatasana or cross-legged pose. Body temperature is probably dropped using a blanket. Let your pelvis settle in, the weight of the legs descend towards the earth, and back again into that dignified spine, taking an internal gaze. No doing, remaining as the observer for a few more moments, noticing the effects of the practice on your entire being. Observing the inner stillness that is always available. Bring your hands to heart center. Giving thanks for the yogis and the yoginis that have gone before us, to our teachers, both known and unknown. Giving thanks to the practice itself. May you generate kind thoughts to yourself and to others. May you speak kind words to yourself and to others. May you produce kind actions for yourself and others. Thank you for practicing with me. I bow to your light.